Hello YouTube. This is my Stalker 2 review after about 90 hours of playing it. I wanted to give you a brief, well, I don't know if it'll be brief. I don't know how long this will be. I have a lot to say about the game because, it took me 90 hours to beat it, and I really enjoyed my time. Spoiler alert, I enjoyed my time. Also, I will try, speaking of spoilers, I will try not to put any spoilers here, so if you are still wanting to play it, you can get my view on it. I have some of my gameplay here in the background. And I've put a black border around me just so that I don't think there's anything here that's going to be too spoilery, but we'll see. Just as a quick note, here were the specs and game info that I was using when I was playing. So, I have a pretty beefy computer, as you can see, and I was playing the game at 1080p with VSync epic settings, except for motion blur and DLSS on quality, and the game ran just fine. I want to, I guess, briefly touch on some of the most controversial points of the game's release, which were that the game had some problems with performance. I didn't experience most of those. There were a couple of times where animations were played during like cutscenes, or in the background, like something big was happening, and I could tell that I think that they weren't baked, so it was doing calculations right there in runtime. I suspect just because that really tanked frame rate, but I could be wrong on that. Either way, I didn't have too much of an issue. I only had a few crashes. There was one bug that we did find that was repeatedly crashing, and I just avoided doing that thing that was crashing it. But I will say too that most of my problems that I had early on in my first few days of playing were fixed in the first few patches. So if that continues, because today is December 18th, I expect that this game will become more and more stable over time. But if that is a breaking point for you, I would just wait before jumping in until like a couple months, maybe, like January, February of 2025. Now on to the actual game, as we've gotten that out of the way. I am a fan of the Stalker series. I'm not a super fan, and I mean that I am not so ingrained with the lore that I am perfectly on top of every little thing that existed and what the reasons were and all the motivations and every single character name. It's like I really love the series, but I'm not that knowledgeable about it. But I do, know the basics of the lore and of like all the sea consciousness stuff and the experiments and the zone, blah 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 blah. And from what I can say, initially, this game was made by Stalker fans for Stalker fans. This felt like a love letter from the developers to the players of this series and to the fans of this series, and it could be felt in every little grain and every little detail that I experienced playing this. It was absolutely fantastic. It was just an amazingly immersive and atmospheric experience from start to finish. I love the characters. I love the voice acting. I was playing with Ukrainian voice acting throughout the whole thing. I am watching somebody play it's Cold Carnage play with the English voice acting, and man, it's just not there. I don't know. If immersion really matters to you, I recommend playing it with the Ukrainian voice acting. The voices are great. The delivery is great. The writing is excellent. I really did not expect this from Stalker, and I guess it took me by surprise. I didn't really read about the fact that it had a non-linear story. I do realize now that they marketed it as such, but I don't care what it says on the store page. I'm gonna buy this game. I'm gonna play it because I love Stalker, and we'll just see what it is. I'm gonna go in as blind as possible. So when I figured out that it did actually have quite a non-linear story and non-linear quests, I was really surprised, but in a good way. That it really felt like this game did allow you to accomplish things in almost any order that you preferred. In terms of, or maybe not order, but any way that you preferred. If you wanted to kill everybody and just be that crazy lone stalker, you could do it. If you wanted to follow a quest line or, join a certain faction, which there are ways to kind of ally yourselves with certain factions, not in the way that some of the original games you could, but definitely there was still a way to say, okay, I am a loner, I'm a stalker, I'm gonna do things my own way, or I'm going to try to accomplish things with this faction or this faction or this faction. I loved it. The usage of Unreal Engine was, I think, on pretty good display here, for good and bad. You know, I don't think I didn't really have issues like stuttering, but I did have issues with Lumen because it is a very taxing piece of technology, and it does have some artifacting, especially with like big tunnels and stuff like that. So, you know, it is what it is. But I think that the quality of the meshes, the textures, and you know, you may not be able to see this in my recording here because it's really, really grainy. I'm right in front of my eyes too, and I'm watching like I did. I recorded this at 20,000 bitrate, but it doesn't really appear like that. And I think it's just because of the density of foliage, especially. So if I'm in like a menu or something, you can see that we're just like standing still looking at something. You can see that there is a lot of quality to the textures, to the materials, and to the meshes. But watching it on stream or on a YouTube video may not capture all of that unless the bitrate is very high. Jumping past this story, because again, I don't want to spoil anything. The game was long. There was a lot to explore. There was a lot to do. It was great to be back in the zone. All of the old places you love are still there. All of the old factions you love or hate are still there. All of the people that existed in the zone, many of them are there too. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that you can go see Sidorovic. And as far as I know, he is voice acted by the same guy. So, you know, there's a lot of nostalgia there for Stalker fans, but I don't feel like it is ever misused. There are quests that involve these people that allow you to, you know, if you're new to the series, it introduces you very well. And if you're a fan of the series, it really provides that lore. So I was really surprised in a positive way by just the amount of story here, the quality of the voice acting, the cutscenes, the direction of the cutscenes too. I mean, it just felt immersive, and it felt like it was written by writers who care about the series and care about the lore. And I just got done, you know, when we started Stalker 2, I just got done playing Dragon Age Veilguard. You can imagine that this was quite a breath of fresh air. I'll just put it that way. There's a review for Dragon Age Veilguard on my channel if you want to go see that. I did have some issues though with the game, and it was primarily an issue with balance. You know, I think that if I'm going to criticize a game, I don't penalize issues that are more surface level. I penalize issues that are more core to the fundamental experience or gameplay loops. So something like the balance was a bit fucked up. I don't really care. I don't care. You know, that's fixable with patches, or it's fixable with mods. Again, I don't think it should be fixed with mods, but it is fixable. It's not something like the writing was horrible. The quests were poorly paced. You know, those are things that are a little bit harder to fix. Or if the gameplay loop was unenjoyable, you know, the exploring wasn't rewarding. No, there is a lot to explore, a lot to find, unique artifacts, blueprints, hidden quests, and information, people, locations that have their own little stories or lore. And if you read the PDAs, which I highly recommend, there is a lot of information there. And not only that, but reading PDAs subtly allows you to actually talk to other NPCs about the things that you might find or read in those. So definitely do that if you find them. You know, like I said, a lot of my problems were fixed in the initial patches. So, you know, mutants were really, really bold, spongy. Honestly, I think they still kind of are, particularly the pseudo giants and chimeras. It just isn't fun having to pump, you know, 50, 60 rounds of your ammunition into these mutants, and only to get nothing as a reward. The reward that you get is now you have less ammo and your gun has worse durability, which means that you have to spend money to fix it. That's it. So the fights themselves aren't terrible, and you know, I think that fights with like the snorks, the cats, I forget the name of them, I call them pseudo dogs in my playthrough because I was stupid, or side dogs. You know, they're not bad. Those guys are pretty well balanced, but again, without being able to harvest mutant parts, it just feels like there isn't much of a use to doing this, and that was a bit unfortunate. So I think that there are things that can be improved, and I look forward to GSC improving those, especially when there will be future expansions. And if there are future expansions, which there should be at least 2 of them, if they are story based, we will play those on stream as well, and I'll make recordings and upload those to YouTube as well. I don't know how much else I can say. All I can say is that this game felt good. It felt good. It pulled me in. It immersed me. There was jankiness. There's a lot of jankiness, but it's Stalker. You know, a Stalker game without jankiness is not that great. We only ran into a couple of issues that prevented us from completing a side quest or two, and one of them did get fixed in the patches following the game, and I was able to complete that quest finally. But again, if that is super crucially important to you, I would just wait a couple months for more fixes to come in. I imagine that because it's, you know, almost holiday time, there's probably going to be one more patch before the holidays, and then they will have a bit of a break, and then they'll get back to it after the Christmas period. This game was fantastic. I was not expecting the story to go so hard. The anomalies were interesting, the visual effects were fantastic, the art team did a wonderful job, sound design team did a great job. This felt like the true Stalker experience that I had been waiting for since, you know, Call of Pripyat came out, and I played the modded versions of those too, and I love it. So this was great. My final verdict or score, I haven't even thought about it. It's got to be a 9 out of 10 for me, you know, and I penalize it just because it didn't release in the state that I would really have liked it to, in order to be what I would call complete and finished. But that's not to say that you can't find fun. Just know that this game plays very differently. If you're expecting, if you haven't played Stalker before and you're going into this, just know it plays differently. If you've played Stalker before, you're going to go into this and you're going to feel like, oh, okay, I'm back. I'm back in the zone. This was great. I really loved it. I enjoyed my time with it. I never felt like it overstayed its welcome, though I do think that the start of the game was a little bit slower than when it started to pick up, but I understand that this was also an entry point for a lot of people. I had more than my fair share of individuals come into chat, or I've seen in other chats say, oh, this is like single-player Tarkov. My brothers in Christ, do you know what Tarkov was inspired by? Please, I implore you, go play the original Stalker trilogy, and you'll get to see exactly what the zone has to offer, and hopefully they will be able to patch in the A-Life system 2.0 into the game. I don't know what the reason for it not being in the game was, but if I had to hedge my bets, it was never ready by release, and they knew that, and they just implemented a bare bones spawning system, which definitely was one of the worst feeling things in the game, was trying to slowly explore a place and enemies would just spawn in behind you. It wasn't great. So I'm imagining that they're trying to get that fixed up and implemented as they wanted to, but couldn't get ready in time for release, and they'll be implementing that in the coming patches. Hopefully, we shall see. We shall see. Either way, I won't yap on for any longer. I know this was a bit unstructured. I had thought I was going to write a script for it, but I just kind of went in because I don't know. I just do it this way. It's easier for me. And hopefully you guys can jump into the zone too. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to, you know, hear it on stream of what you guys think of the game and how you enjoyed it. Like I said, I really enjoyed this game. I think this was great. This was exactly what I was hoping for, and the game ran well for me. It didn't have too many bugs or glitches, and I was able to fully enjoy the about 90-hour experience on Veteran. Apart from one room at the end, you'll see that in our finale video. If you really want, there was one room at the end of the game. I won't spoil what's in there, but my god, it was the worst balanced thing in this game by far. Unfair, unfun, and you know, I just kind of brute forced my way through it, and we were able to get back to enjoying the game. But yeah, this game was great. Wholly recommend. 9 out of 10. Go play it. Go play the original Stalker trilogy if you're okay with playing a little bit of older, janky games. But they're good. I promise you, they're really fun. They're very immersive and atmospheric. Guys, thank you so much for watching this. Again, I am done streaming for the year. I don't expect to do any more. I will see you next year for Golden Chronicles. And then, of course, we will be doing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 in February. So, thank you guys so much. Hope that you enjoyed the Stalker 2 videos. If you haven't watched them already, we have 14 videos up. I think that's the right way for you guys. I don't remember. 14 videos up on there on YouTube of my entire playthrough from start to finish with Ukrainian audio, English subs, veteran difficulty, max settings. Okay, guys, I won't yap anymore. Take care, have a great holiday and new year, and I will see you in 2025. Bye-bye, guys.